How we doing, Georgia? I'll tell you, this is a historic moment, everybody. By the way, have you been seeing the early voting numbers out of this state? Who here has voted already? Raise your hand if you voted already. Look at that. You are living through a once-in-a-generation realignment, everybody, where it is no longer Republican versus Democrat. It's no longer the traditional dividing lines of a generation prior. You've seen tonight something remarkable. You saw two people who ran for president of the United States as a Democrat, endorse Donald Trump, and be here as our movement accepts them warmly. You see, they say Donald Trump is the best at deals the world has ever seen. And just look at this deal. We get Tulsi Gabbard and Bobby Kennedy, they get Liz Cheney. Not bad. We get Elon Musk, they get Adam Kinzinger. You can have them. You can have the warmongers of a generation prior while we diversify, deepen, and strengthen our movement to include people that otherwise would never have been part of the Republican Party. Who here is a former Democrat? Raise your hand. Look at that. And by the way, you are all welcome in our movement because the Democrat Party left you a long time ago. As many of you know, I visit college campuses so you don't have to. Just yesterday, we were on the campus of University of Georgia. Some dog fans here? Now, I'm gonna get a text message from Ted Cruz, but good job, guys, last weekend. That's all I'm gonna say. It was so amazing. Off to the side, there was this sad, pathetic display of misfits of 5 people at the Harris Walls table. And just feet away, we had 5,000 students attend our event at the University of Georgia. 5,000 students. In fact, the Democrats are so confused at what is going on. Never before has conservatism, the ideas of freedom, liberty, American exceptionalism, been so popular on these college campuses. You see, they're feeling what you're feeling, but even more so. This is the most depressed, sick, medicated, anxious generation in history. They are the first generation since George Washington to have their life and their standard of living worse off than their parents. This is a broken social contract, and how many of you feel as if the DC political class has forgotten you? The college students that I'm talking to, when they hear Kamala Harris continue on her diatribe of nothing, they recognize and realize that the DC political elite has failed them for one exception, that there were new wars under Bush and new wars under Obama and new wars under Biden, but for 4 years there were no new wars. And that for the last 4 years, people have been getting poor. In Atlanta, in order to buy a home, when Donald Trump was president, you needed to make $75,000 a year. Now, it requires $135,000 a year, and interest rates are near 10%. And understand, this is intentional. They're trying to create a nation of renters because when you rent, they can control you. When you own property, you're a free citizen, and they can't tell you what to do. In order to create more conservatives and more people who love the country, you need to have the 3 M's. Young people need to get married, they need to mate, and get a mortgage. The 3 M's are 3 things the Democrat Party is against. They do not celebrate marriage. They certainly do not celebrate having children. They had an abortion truck at their national convention, and they're making it harder than ever to buy a home. Donald Trump is running on a once-in-a-generation campaign to revitalize the American dream for a generation that has been mortgaged by the DC political class over the last 50 years. And where we are right now in Georgia will determine the future of America. You see, we are doing exceedingly well with early voting right now. And this is a very important distinction. Election day is the last day of voting. We have 12 days of voting left in this state. We have days of voting still to remain. So for those of you that already voted, You need to go find a low propensity voter, someone that is a little shaky about voting, and get them out to the polls. You have 12 days to outwork the Democrats, and that is my main message to you here. Do you really think, after they tried to put Donald Trump in prison for 700 years, they've tried to assassinate him a couple times, impeach him a couple times, that they're gonna roll over in the next 12 days? You think they're gonna hand us the keys to the White House? What Tucker said is correct. The early voting numbers are good. The voter registration numbers are good. We draw crowds 10 times, 100 times bigger than them. But you're trying to tell me that John Brennan and James Comey and Clapper and Susan Rice and Barack Obama are just gonna say, you know what, we're 12 days out. Go have the White House, MAGA. No. Instead, you must be on guard. In fact, you must be vigilant that these people are gonna try something in a panic despair, the likes of which we've never seen, because they know that their time is running out. They know the American people are ascendant and that their time will soon come on November 5th. So what does that mean? And you could smell it in the air. You could smell the panic. You can smell the desperation. You could smell the disgust of what they see coming forward. And the thing that scares them and terrifies them more than anything else, is that we not just vote, but we get new people to go vote, and we chase every single voter in this state, and in Arizona, and in Nevada, and Pennsylvania, and North Carolina, and Wisconsin, and Michigan. You see, you're going to be able to tell your kids and your grandkids about this moment. You're going to be able to tell them about the moment that you were in Georgia, and the entire country was put in jeopardy. You are going to be able to tell them about when the Constitution was put in suspense. And that is why this election feels bigger than any other election that we lived through. Because it's not just the typical corporate tax rate debate that we have enjoyed. Instead, it is so much bigger. It is civilizational defining. And you need to go to every single person you know and say, are you voting for Trump? I don't know if I'm gonna vote. And you have to repeat this. You say, no new wars, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, largest deportation effort ever, drill baby drill, gas prices low, restoration of the Constitution, Supreme Court justices we can trust, and an end to the lawfare. Those 10 things you tell every swing voter you know in this state, and you commit it to memory. And it's going to require a citizen force, because these next 12 days will define the future of our republic. And that is why you are here. That is why you waited hours and hours and hours to get into here. And that is exactly what we're doing at Turning Point Action, to register new voters in states that are still registering voters, like Michigan, and same-day registration. And as I travel the country, and I'm doing this on college campuses, I can feel a surge, the likes of which was even greater than 2020, the likes of which that was even greater than 2016. It is a citizen-led movement, and let's just remember what we have been through, everybody. The forces of darkness have tried everything they possibly can. And what does success look like? It looks like, no matter what you throw at this movement, no matter how much you tar and feather us, smear, slander, call us names, cancel us, you call us a racist, or you try to put our candidate in jail, that we understand that this is a different type of divide. This is the citizens of a country who we own the country, not them. We own the country, not them. We're in charge, not you. You work for us. And we are going to send a message. And Donald Trump is a metaphorical, you hear that, media? A metaphorical Tomahawk missile against the DC ruling regime to send them a reminder, we're in charge, you're not, we're the boss, you're not. You see, the media, they're starting to really get upset and say, why is it that people are still voting Trump after all these things? It's because of all of these things that we're still voting for Trump. Because I look at a man who refuses to give up. They say, well, is this someone that you want your kids to grow up and to look up to? I say, yes, I'm gonna tell my son that in the line of fire, that if you ever think as if things could ever get dark and you rise and you say, fight, 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 I want my son to be like that one day. I want my kids to look up to a president that even though they take his business empire away and he's facing 7 lifetimes in prison, he keeps on fighting for you, where he has nothing to gain and everything to lose to get into the arena. There has never been a candidate in modern American history that has lost so much for something that did not benefit him, but instead put you in the room, and that is why they are so anxious and nervous. I want you to understand what's going on here. Right now, they are popping pills at Pfizer that Bobby Kennedy might run the FDA and the CDC, everybody. Right now, the warmongers in DC are shaking, they're trembling like a leaf that Tulsi Gabbard might go in and expose the fraud of us sending $200 billion to Ukraine while our border remains wide open. The government gangsters, as Kash Patel would put it, that have robbed us blind, they're starting to get really nervous saying, is Elon Musk really gonna come in and look at our budgets? Oh, you better believe Elon Musk is gonna come in and look at your budgets. The Department of Government Efficiency czar. And what a combo team, everybody. It is from people that have gained so much in the system and a bottom up, and the only people supporting Kamala Harris are the ones that are happy robbing more from you and covering up for their crimes. Let me say that again. The only people supporting Kamala Harris are comfortable robbing more from you and covering up for your crimes. For 50 years, this part of America has grown poorer while the Kingdom of Washington, D.C. has grown infinitely richer. The wealthiest counties in America are all centered around Washington, D.C. And the heartland of this country and the industrial base of this country, where the muscular class built this country, have seen their jobs shipped over to China, and we got a bunch of opioids in return and piles of plastic and deteriorated neighborhoods that we no longer recognize. And in a series of events that only God could orchestrate, in a series of events that only our divine Father could put together, the most unusual set of circumstances is that a billionaire from New York had to get in the arena to tell the other billionaires that have been robbing you, the game is over, you're fired, and the American people are back in charge again. I will close with this. We are here in a state that is a very Christian state, a state that loves God and loves Jesus. If there was my biggest concern of this election, it is the faithful, it is the pastors that are not engaging right now in this election. We have 12 days left, and you need to lovingly challenge pastors that are silent that you have a biblical obligation to engage in this election, that you have a biblical obligation to fight evil and to exalt righteousness. For no other reason than 320,000 missing kids on our southern border right now, which is modern day slavery, and Donald Trump will put an end to it. Donald Trump is the most pro-life president in American history, as he was responsible for the reversal of Roe versus Wade, moved the embassy to Jerusalem, and more than anything else, everybody, is on the other side. The Democrat Party supports everything that God hates. The Democrat Party is espousing the death of the unborn, the mutilation of our teenage kids, open borders, the destruction of our sovereignty, the elimination of our currency status. I believe there is a spiritual battle happening around all of us, but don't expect a spiritual victory if our own pastors do not engage. Right now, this state is a Christian state. I want to see that to continue. But we need the faithful. We need those of you that have influence over your congregation to put pressure on your pastors. And those, if you're a pastor watching this right now, I hope this touches you. I hope you, and I'm looking right in the camera right now, I hope you give a Sunday sermon and you talk about how the Democrat Party believes everything that God hates. I hope you tell your congregation how to biblically vote. I hope you challenge them and tell them to get in the arena. Because everybody, we have 12 days of voting left. This state will determine the future of America. Go vote now. Fight evil. Get in the arena. And if we do that, on November 5th, we'll be looking at that beautiful CNN clip. Donald Trump elected the 47th president of the United States. God bless you guys. Thank you.